was a big decision from the Bulls standpoint. We'll never know, but it's great for thinking, great for conversation, great for debating. But in my mind, I really believe we could have won 7. And if we won 7, then, competitive nature.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone, and happy 23rd. It's good to be back here again. Those of you who are new, every 23rd of the month, we celebrate Michael Jordan around here. So it's going to be back-to-back Jordan reactions today. So I got something cool here for the morning vid, and this is an interview with Michael Wilbon. This is when Jordan was age 46. The title of this video is Michael Jordan, age 46, one-on-one interview with Michael Wilbon. So this was in 2009. It's a two-parter, but they're both about 10 minutes each. So we're going to go ahead and just react to both of them right here, right now. Reason I want to do this is thanks to YouTube. I'm quickly realizing there are quite a few interviews of Michael Jordan that I missed out on. And I'm trying to make good with that now. Because for me, hearing Michael Jordan in interviews and the way he talks compared to how I hear a lot of young basketball players talk now with the excuse making and blaming the fans and, just the justifications that the new players make versus like the tough attitude of a guy like Jordan who's just like, no excuses. This is what I did. This is what I had to do. Yada, yada. It's really refreshing to watch MJ speak. Also, I figured this would be a fitting one because one of the OGs around here in the comments, you asked me to dedicate this one to your son. So Axe, this one's for you. And everyone else, so pay attention to how he speaks, basically, because this will show you, Axe, the difference between generations and how much tougher the previous generation was. Anyways, everyone, happy 23rd. I'm so glad to be here. That means tomorrow's the 24th. We celebrate Kobe. And then a couple of days after that, we're going to celebrate the end of the month by doing some cool retro stuff around here. And this is my favorite time of the month. It's just, it's time to just have some fun. So anyways, everyone, long intro out of the way. Happy 23rd. Let's get on this. As I always do, I'm linking the original video down below in the description. This is from a channel called 23 Forever. And yeah, everyone, please leave this video a like. Helps out a ton. Let's see what they talked about in 2009. I really have no idea, so I'm going into this blind.
We all think of the Hall of Fame as the greatest honor imaginable. But you did not embrace this initially. How do you feel about it now?
Well, it's not that I didn't embrace it as an opportunity, as an accomplishment, as a privilege. I just didn't think I was ready for it now. I think that, for me, it's like, I don't mean it in a bad way, like you're going out in the pasture and you're just gonna graze until you basically die, and for me, and I'm not saying that for every person, because I think a lot of people look at it in a much more prestigious, eyesight. Me, I still look at it like that. It's just that not right now. I feel like I still got so much to do. I love the game. I'm always going to love the game. I'm always going to feel like, or keep people off guard by not knowing, still play the game if I choose to play the game, and
damn, man.
I can run with the young horses. Don't put me out grazing yet, but it's still my choice, So it seems like it sounded so finite to the end of something, and I wasn't ready for that, I'm still not ready for that.
I was going to say,
okay. So that establishes it right there. So he's 46 years old at this point, and in his mind, he could still come back at any point. So yeah, when he said I might be back at 50, like he was not messing around. It was still in his mind that like I could still play, I could still do this. So getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, he's thinking I don't want to be in there because I might come back. Like, he's just not saying it, but I'm pretty sure that's what he's getting at here.
You've had time to think about this now. Clearly, it's symbolic in a way that you would just rather not have.
Not now. And it's a tremendous accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to diminish that for anybody else, but for me, it signifies something so finite and,
Yeah.
and the end of something. And basketball is my love, always have been, and I can't ever, envision an ending of something like that. That passion that I have for the game, until I'm dead and gone. Until that's when it's, well, I can wait. I'm not in a rush.
When you watch games now, particularly in person, are you still envisioning yourself on the court and what you would do in that situation?
Of course.
I think everybody does. I think, and I'm no different. My competitive nature, when I do watch a game, I try not to watch as much because I'm so critical.
Yeah.
Of how the game's being played. How the kids are playing the game. How I would play it totally different. That's just my competitive nature about watching the game that I truly love, and I've taken a great pride in trying to enhance while I play the game. Not that the kids are not enhancing the game. I think they're overlooking a lot of the things that in old age or in maturity, I can see a lot more. I'm pretty sure Magic's that way. I think Larry's that way. I think all the guys who are experienced enough to play the game get to a level where they feel like they have perfected the skill level that they can see a lot of flaws in the way the game's happening right now.
Well
The
said.
mind is still different than the body goes.
The body is probably the biggest thing that allows us to, or makes us to walk away from the game because we can't respond physically. Mentally, I still think I'm just as sharp as when I played the game, probably even more sharper.
Yeah.
So it's a big distinct difference. I think that I guess I was talking to Charles Oakley yesterday. I said, it's amazing about that wall continues to get taller physically, but mentally you always figure a way around the wall or through the wall or over the wall.
That's a cool thing. Side note, real quick. Something that stuck with me from my dad for many, many years now, and it's gone full circle with me, is he used to tell me when he was around 50 years old, he'd say, like, boy, if my mind was only where it is now when my body was young, but now my body is old and my mind is sharper and wiser than ever, but I can't do the things that my mind wants me to do anymore because my body is old. So he's just like, we never get both at the same time, and it's really frustrating. And yeah, MJ is a surplus of basketball wisdom and knowledge that I wish it could be just preserved, because what he has upstairs, he can't show us on a basketball court anymore what's going on. But when he did have that ability to, it was wonderful. And now imagine all these years later, he's even wiser when it comes to basketball.
Magic. And I want to mention a couple of your peers, because Magic and probably Charles, most notably Charles Barkley, they have found sort of the second career that fulfills them nearly as much, not as much, but nearly as much as their playing days. Do you worry about finding or not finding that second thing that consumes your passions like those guys have?
Nothing's going to equal basketball. And if they say what they do now equals what they did playing the game of basketball, then, I beg to differ about those two individuals and their competitive nature. For me, I feel like I'm the most fierce competitor there is. I don't think I'm ever going to find something to equal the game of basketball for me. Golf comes close, but even then, it's not a mastery for me in that game, as basketball was. So, am I worried? No, because I come to understand that I'm never going to find something that drives me as much as basketball did, and makes me that much more competitive when basketball was a part of my life.
As unlikely as it seems, is there anything that you wanted to accomplish on the court in your career that you didn't accomplish?
Good question.
No, I can't think that in terms of accolades or in terms of my level of the game of basketball, I felt like I enhanced it to the maximum when I retired in 1998. And I won every accolade, individually, team oriented, things of that nature. So when you look at that, no, I don't think there's anything out there that I feel like, okay, I left that on the table. The biggest thing about it for me was duplication, being that staying on that highest level of excellence, showing that it's not easy to get here, or once you get here it's harder to stay.
Yes.
And the challenge of staying and playing at that same level was the beauty that I saw, and I feel like if I can ever think about what I miss about the game was being that consistent each and every day. That every time a naysayer say he can't do this, well, I think I can prove you wrong. I think I can do that.
And that's why, like, we all celebrate Jordan's career so much, is because we saw him come from nothing to just scrapping his way into the playoffs to eventually winning a championship. And it wasn't just getting there, it was that he stayed there. That he dominated an entire decade by just staying on top of that mountain. And we all know, I mean, ask a boxer, you think it's the impossible task to become a champion. No, it's 10 times harder to remain the champion because everyone is gunning for your head at that point. And to do it, the way, that's why we celebrate those 2 3-peats so much, because it seems inhuman to be able to pull something like that off.
Need to retire in 1993 to achieve that? Or when you look back, do you ever regret retiring that first time in 1993?
I never regret it. I think at that time in my life, I needed that break because I lost. The desire for what the game represented. It was very commercialized for me, in 1993 where, it was great. I was on every Wheaties box and, Gatorade bottles and things of that nature, but, my passion for the game was kind of lost. And
burnout a fair?
Burnout or lost. I would say I was lost, not burnout, because I still had a strong passion for the game. I watched it with a strong passion. I was lost in the midst of so much things going around the game. And what baseball did for me was got me back to the basics of how much I loved the game, how genuine the game was, and playing with those minor leaguers, I would never change that for nothing in the world, because I think, that reinstilled some of the desires that I had when I was a kid, and it was easy to showcase that once I got back, and I didn't want it to end, and when the team was broken up in 1998, I wasn't ready to retire, in all honesty, because I felt like we still could compete and still win, but the nature of the business changed, from the Bulls standpoint, from Phil's standpoint, from Dennis, and from Scotty, and here I am. I was just there to pick up the pieces and make my decision to either stay in or rebuild or go somewhere else.
If that team had been able to stay together, was your eye on Bill Russell's number? I mean, we talk about Tiger and Jack Nicklaus and majors, championships. The only guy ahead of you out there really is Bill Russell. Did you think about that?
Well, you take it year by year. I do believe we could have won 7. I don't want to take anything from David Robinson and those guys in his shortened year in '99. But I felt like we still had a good chance if we would have kept the team together.
Man, I always forget that was a shortened year. With all that rest, the Bulls really could have won. They could have won 4 in a row. I always forget about that factor because I think that they were exhausted, they were hurt. No way could they come back and win a 4th one. But with all that time off and all that rest, if they signed everyone to a 1-year deal, they actually probably could have done it.
That was a big decision from the Bulls standpoint. We'll never know, but it's great for thinking, great for conversation, great for debating. But in my mind, I really believe we could have won 7. And if we won 7, then, competitive nature would have been, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's get 8.
Let's get to 8, let's get it to 9, until someone beat us, until I actually lose in the finals, which it never happened. I think we could have, I like to see us stay together.
See, the funny thing is we celebrate the 6-0 from Jordan in the finals, but I've seen him talk about this so many times now. It does not sit right with him because a champion only gets dethroned when they lose. So to go undefeated like that means that there's an unwritten story that he's never going to get to see. How far could they have taken it before somebody finally dethrones him? And then he's ready to walk away. So it definitely has stuck with him all these years that he never got the chance to lose, and that's hard. That's hard to just walk away saying, how many more could I have won? And wow, it's so funny. I just bring it up because we as fans all celebrate it. Yeah, guy never lost in the finals, but Jordan would have rather have gone 6-1 in the finals just to be able to say I got a chance to defend my title.
Historically, some of the very best baseball players, I mean, guys including Joe DiMaggio and Willie Mays, they coveted the distinction of being called, the greatest living baseball player. And I wonder, as this whole week unfolds, if you care about being called the greatest basketball player ever, does that matter? Do you want that?
I don't want it in a sense because I think it disrespects Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. This is perfect. Acts. This is the kind of stuff that we're all talking about when it comes to being humble and respecting your elders and the people who came before you. And this is what it's all about. Listen in to Jordan, okay? So basically, everyone considers him the GOAT. It's been going on for a long time, and this is how he deals with it when he's acknowledged as that.
It's because I think it disrespects Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, all the guys that prior to me, I never had a chance to play against. What everybody's saying I am, I never had the chance to compete against other legends that was prior to me. When I hear it, I cringe a little bit because, it's a little bit embarrassing because no one knows, I never had the chances once again to play against those guys, I would love to have played against them, but I never did, and for you to say that I'm better than him, I mean, it's your opinion. It's their opinion. I accept that as their opinion. If you ask me, I would never say that I'm the greatest player, and that's because I never played against all the people that represented the league prior to Michael Jordan.
You're Hall of Fame.
Now, the reason I wanted to put emphasis on that is because you've got that kind of reaction versus that one right there, maybe the greatest of all time, and then. What can your son call you on the court? He can call me GOAT. It's different. It's very, very different. The respect level that Jordan gives versus the respect level that LeBron gives, which is basically like, forget everybody else. I'm the best that's ever been around. It sits different, Jordan lets everybody call him the GOAT. LeBron is telling everyone that he's the GOAT. See the difference?
Fame induction this week has given everybody a chance to look back at their favorite Michael Jordan moments. Everybody has one.
Ask me, I would never say that.
Okay, so this is part 2. Okay, so yeah, it's just gonna recap the last couple of seconds, I guess.
The greatest player, and that's because I never played against all the people that represented the league prior to Michael Jordan.
Your Hall of Fame induction this week has given everybody a chance to look back at their favorite Michael Jordan moments. Everybody has one. I wouldn't expect you to have one, although maybe you do. But what are a couple of them? What's important to us may not be important to you. What sticks out to you when you watch all this stuff?
Wow. Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff going across the TV and a lot of highlights and things of that nature, and they all represent me. I can't. It's like Coach Smith says all the time. He says, you ask me what's the greatest player that ever played at the University of North Carolina. He says, that's like asking which one of my kids is better than the other kid.
Yeah.
I find it very difficult for me to single out all the things that I've done in the game of basketball, which have been, attributed to a lot of hard work and supportive people over the past, 20-some years. I can't pick one moment. I can say, okay, my whole name changed from Mike Jordan to Michael Jordan when I made the shot in 1982. But, obviously to finish up in 1998, making a shot in Utah, coming back, and, last shot I made in Chicago Bulls. I mean, those are two that I think you can continue to find more in my baseball years. People look at my baseball years and they put so much, negative twist on it. To me,
you love those. You love that.
I wouldn't change that for nothing in the world because I saw genuine people trying to achieve their dream with the faintest idea if they could or couldn't. Very few of them do.
Passion.
But you can never tell them. And I couldn't even tell them. I just enjoyed being around them because that to me was true passion for the game that they truly love. So I mean, there's so many things in my career that I just can't pick one out and say, that's my favorite.
And that's why, a lot of people okay, there is a lot of haters as far as Jordan retiring and playing baseball. because of the way Jordan has always spoke about it and how much it meant to him is why, for me, I've always, even since back then in 94, I was like, well, Jordan, this is what he says he wants to do. He's passionate about it. It's exciting for him, and it's what he needs in his life right now. So, like, I think this is a great part of his story. But a lot of people just hate on it. I'm not sure why. I mean, yeah, he wasn't like some legendary baseball player, but for him, this was like healing for him. His father had just been murdered and like, he just won 3 championships in a row, and he was like, I need something else. And seeing a bunch of people getting paid low money with no guarantees of becoming pro ever, and they're doing this for the love of the game of baseball, that was the best thing that could have happened at Jordan. Just being surrounded by normal dudes who have a love for a sport. And what did it do? It reignited that love of basketball for him, where he can go in pure again, ready to prove himself from the bottom all the way up. And it was just such a great part of the story. So people hating on the baseball years, I don't quite understand why you do it. But if you hear Jordan saying this stuff, does it mean anything to you? That, like, he needed this, Like, he wasn't worried about numbers or anything like that. Like, he needed this experience in order to move forward in his life.
But that's another story.
Which one? The sick game.
The flu game?
Yeah, but what about the dream team? All of us playing together and,
See,
practices and blah, blah,
that
blah.
Barcelona game, the Monte Carlo game, which I got to see a little bit of.
Yeah, Magic don't like that one.
No, I can imagine.
He doesn't. There's a lot of trash talking going
This
on.
is one of the last series I want to ask
That's
you
that
about.
that's that classic game that we're always hearing about, that practice. Damn. He's like, Magic don't like that one.
The dream team. When talk about commercialism, at first, it was
Yeah.
driving it, and you didn't really want to be a part of that. But then when you got with those guys, you were into it instantly. How did it change, and how important is the dream team to your life?
Well, anytime you represent your country, that's a privilege. Because of all the business, all the corporate things surrounding it, the dream team, first time professionals played in the Olympics, blah, 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 it added a little different flavor to it, My best Olympics experience was 1984, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I don't want to compare the two because I stayed in the village. I got the chance to meet other athletes. We understood and we got to accept the Olympic experience. In 1992, the dream team was somewhat an overshadowing activity because, one, we didn't stay in the village. We had security guards everywhere we went. It was totally different than the first experience. But yet, my reason for being a part of it wasn't because of the commercialized aspect of it. Was I never had the chance to see how these other all-stars prepare themselves for a game or practice or compete against them each and every day. What was their desire? What was their hunger? What drove them to eat? What drove them to play? So me, it was being a part of them and seeing them socially, but then taking that on the basketball court and competing, and at the same time representing your country. That to me was why I played in the 1992 Dream Team, just so that I can understand what Magic Bird was like. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. If Charles Barkley did like to practice, he didn't like to practice. Drexler, at the time we being compared,
Okay, wait, I got to pause it right there. So then that's why he told Pip that, basically like this guy doesn't have the what it takes to win a championship, because he saw in the dream team this guy doesn't like to practice. And he was scouting everyone to see what their work ethic is like. Interesting, because Kobe ended up doing the same exact thing.
Didn't like to practice. Drexler, at the time we being compared, I wanted to see how we compete against each other in a practice setting. Karl Malone, John Stockton, David Robinson. You threw in Kristen Layton or Dookie. We were able to live with that one. But other than that, man, it was a great experience. And I wouldn't change it because I saw a lot of things about my guys I compete against, and it added to my respect to a lot of them. And obviously I understood, what made them tick. And I think they got to understand it about me too, what made me tick. And, we appreciate each other's respect.
Is that game in Monte Carlo, was that as competitive as anything you've ever done?
Best game I ever played in.
Damn. Okay, once again, before he gets into this is the practice the dream team practice where basically Jordan. Well, how do I say this? Jordan took the torch. Magic didn't want to pass the torch to MJ, but Jordan took the torch in this practice. So let's hear him talk about it.
Was that as competitive as anything you've ever done?
Best game I ever played in. Best game I ever played in the sense that
Wow.
no coaching. You know, yeah, there were referees, but not really. You know, and you had 10 Hall of Famers playing against each other. I mean, how many times are you going to get that to happen in the game of basketball? I mean, when I say 10 Hall of Famers, first ballot Hall of Famers. Well, it's not even a question. It's not even a second, third, or fourth. They first ballot. And the way we competed, and our desire and the sweat and the trash talking and all the beautiful things about the game of basketball was illustrated in that one particular game. That if you culminate everybody in the Hall of Fame and every game they played in, and you envision a game being played, that's how the game is going to be played.
Last thing I want to ask you.
Damn, what an answer.
We'll ask me real quickly.
All right.
You upset a lot of Tar Heels with your choice of Hall of Fame presenter. We've talked many times. I know how much you looked up to David Thompson, but tell people why. Tell Tar Heel Nation why David Thompson.
Well, it's just simple. You know, no, I couldn't pick one Tar Heel over the other Tar Heel. You know, once again, go back to Coach Smith saying which one you want to pick over, blah blah blah. And I'm pretty sure everybody would have loved to have done it if I would have asked them. But what made it so easy was David Thompson. I grew up watching. You know, when I was 11 years old, when he was playing for North Carolina State. You know, I idolized him. I patterned parts of my game behind him. You know, he lives in Charlotte, where I work now. He's from North Carolina, Shelby, North Carolina. So there was a bunch of connections there. I mean, my kids didn't even know who he was. I had to tell them, back in 1974 in college, you couldn't dunk a basketball, and the term alley-oop came from this guy, and now they can identify who this. Because I think he deserves that type of recognition, that someone of my, magnitude appreciates him, appreciate what he represented to the game, and he impacted my life. And if I've impacted his life by electing him and selecting him, great. I mean, we've done each other a favor here. And for the public who don't really know David Thompson, go back and read, and all the basketball enthusiasts, they know who David Thompson is. And you're talking about someone who's gone through some negative times and bounced back. To me, that is the most gratification that I've ever gotten from David Thompson, is that he made mistakes and he's bounced back and become a better person because of those mistakes. And we all have made mistakes. And to me, he represents, that person that, constantly looks at the positive side of everything, and I was very, very privileged that he accepted, my offer to induct me into the Hall of Fame. And I'm looking forward to seeing how much he smiled. I know I saw him last night. I said, you don't think you belong? I said, yeah, you do. You belong here. And I'm very proud that you accepted my invitation.
Michael, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So when we started this, I didn't know that this was literally, it sounds like the very next day after the Hall of Fame induction, if I've got the timeline correctly, but it's definitely right after the Hall of Fame induction, like within the same couple of days. Really cool interview. I've always been a fan of Michael Wilbon. Well, not so much recently, but that's just ESPN stuff. But back in 2009, Wilbon was one of my favorites by far. Yeah, that I didn't know so much of the ties of him and Thompson, but it does make perfect sense. I knew he did idolize him as a player. I didn't know he idolized him as like a man, though. So basically, Jordan just giving back, because silently he had gained so much personally from admiring this man and learning from this man, that he wanted to give back on the grand stage like that. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. I didn't know that was what was really going on. It was just kind of one of those, it's like, okay, well, I guess that was somebody he idolized, so he just selected him. I didn't really think too deeply of it, but I don't know. It's so cool to hear Jordan talk, because he's so just matter of fact, straightforward, brutally honest, and he's not out there like puffing his chest, and he's also being honest about like certain regrets. you know, or not so much like regrets on himself personally, but things that he never got to do that he wanted to do. For instance, like defending his title after 98. Not getting to do that. He's been very adamant about that, especially if you watch The Last Dance. He is very adamant about that like he feels like, you know, it just got stripped away from him. That and he felt, he said it in the press that whole year too in 98. Whenever they'd ask him about it, he'd say like we are entitled to defend our championship until we lose it. He's trying to speak to the ownership of the Bulls. Like, you can't take this away from us until we lose. When we lose, do what you want. You can blow up the team, do a rebuild, all that stuff, but you can't shoot the horse before the horse is sick, you know? Like, you can't just do it saying, well, the horse is going to get sick in a couple of years, so we might as well just shoot it now. No, man. The horse still has life in it. Like, don't do it. But it always happened. It happened, and it's always going to drive me crazy. But it drives me crazy as just a guy who grew up idolizing Michael Jordan. This poor man, like, Michael Jordan has to live with this every single day of his life to know that got taken away from me. And I'm sure every time he sees that shot, that last shot from 98 to seal the championship, he's probably thinking it's probably bittersweet, you know, because he's like, damn, man, I did that. But then he's thinking, oh, I never got to defend that. Anyways, what a cool interview. What a cool way to start out the 23rd. And yeah, Air Jordan Rewind, everyone. I'm coming back to you later on tonight. It's going to be 6 p.m. in Arizona time. And yes, Arizona time is a thing because we have no we don't switch times, like no daylight savings or anything like that out here. So yes, if you look up, Arizona time is a time. It's different than California. It's different than Texas, yada, yada. Anyways, I'll be back at 6 for another one, completely different than this. There goes my dog. She's barking. She's pissed off. And I think that's a good time to bounce out. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please leave the video a like. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And hit that bell if you want to get notified for the next one. All right. Peace out, everybody. And be water, my friends.